Hey, so here's the next one. It's an AMG Mercedes. We've got a misfire and a gearbox oil change and an oil leak. So get on with that. Let's have a look, see what we can find. So we initially get inside the car and key the ignition, foot on the brake and ignition on. First thing we notice is the flap motor for some kind of changeover valve is clicking, which means probably it's got broken teeth or something. Anyway, we'll try and listen to the engine when it starts up and we'll hear the misfire. The whole thing's shaking. As you can see, the camera is shaking in my hand. And we've got a distinct misfire. So we'll hunt that for a start and hopefully that will lead us straight to an oil leak. And then I can just go straight on and do the gearbox oil change straight after. In a perfect world that's the way it would be, but wow. This is a wow. So we've got a 2001 which is a P0400 blocked low flow EGR. Got a P0131 equivalent sensor circuit, O2 sensor, 172 and a 171. One's rich, one's lean. Enleanment below permissible, enrichment over permissible. Then we've got a 174 enrichment over permissible, and then a 175 enleanment below permissible. Too lean. Great. Then we've got a circuit, so we've definitely got a lamp there. Faults. So we started the diagnosis tonight, and we're running out of daylight, and I'm getting hungry. So I'm going to stick a cover underneath the engine now, because it's got on a leak, and see if we can determine what kind of area the oil leak's coming from, and we'll be back on this tomorrow. So we've got a new list up here, and I'm just reading it for the first time. Airflow seems to be about right for a V8. Still minus 30. Short term fuel trim. Bank 1. 0. Bank 2 is adding fuel right now. Occasionally it is trying to add fuel. Short term fuel trim. Bank 1 sensor 2 is doing nothing. So bank 1 sensor 2 literally, where we're looking, sensor 1 after the cat. Okay, sensor 1, that seems to be doing jiggery pokery. So bank 1 sensor 1 looks to be dead. Let's have a look, see if we can wake it up. Alright, it's doing a little bit. It's not looking good at the moment. I'm just going to drop it into gear and drive now. I'll put some load on the engine. So bank 2's adding fuel all the time now. I'm going to clear all these codes out and see if we get a refresh on these and see if it just starts backing off constantly. Back into neutral there, and now we're minusing off again. B1S1 to switch in. They are switching. we'll have to do some more stuff here before we get excited. So I'll just reset the fault codes, and it has not brought the long-term fuel trims back to where I want them to start afresh. So I'm going to disconnect the battery and then we'll go from there. So if you didn't know, the battery lays here on these Mercedes, and if you didn't know, that battery terminal is fitted incorrectly. So the problem with it is, let's get it into frame and let's get it steady for you so you can see it nice and steadily. This is the clamp, and I can drop the screwdriver in quite a way before it hits the actual terminal, which is here. Now the negative, which is the other side, let me zoom back out again, it's a bit easier, was exactly the same. I took it off and there's already corrosion happening inside it. Not a good thing at all. You see so many faults on roadside diagnosis literally due to corrosion and bad battery terminals. You would not believe it. Anyway, to do this properly you need a tool. I've got a brand new one here because the other one is at work, and you don't get anything special, but I prefer metal ones, and the reason why I prefer metal ones is for this reason, is because if I do this, it doesn't break. I can guarantee if you get the plastic one, you drop it, that will be the last time you're using it. They are really brittle. Always get a metal one, and I'll show you in use in a second. So this is a positive battery terminal strip and fit correctly. You undo that nut way too far. Yeah, so that is literally loose as loose can be. Always do that. Then that terminal will come off. It shouldn't come off at that point, you should have to spread it. That terminal, when a brand new battery's been fitted, or if the battery's been off for a while, we'll need that, and you can see the colour change straight away. That's fresh lead. Inside the clamp, wasn't too bad, but as you can see, it becomes a lot brighter. And obviously electric will travel through metal nicely, but rust it doesn't like. So these are put together like that. Being brand new, it's a bit stiff, and then just twist it. When you're putting these terminals back on again, you see it's gone most of the way down now, it's near enough flush. What I like to do is just put a screwdriver in it and spread it a little bit and make sure it's down. There you go, and look, it goes all the way down. As soon as you just spread it a little bit with a screwdriver, just a little bit, not too much, otherwise you'll break it. Now it's all the way down, and as you can see, the clamp is below the terminal top, and because those terminals are tapered and the clamps are tapered as well, the further you put it down, the less clamping the clamp has to do. And in fact, if it's fitted correctly, it will be perfectly sufficient as it is, and tight. As you'll see, it is tight. I'm just about shifting the battery before it moves there, and the nut, the torque taken on that will be literally a few newton meters, but the nut is there just to stop the clamp from falling off, basically, and that's the way you should do it. So I'll do the other one as well. There's no need to show you two of them, but I'm just showing you. I'm taking the battery off and it's disconnected to clear the codes out, or not clear the codes out, to completely erase all the learned values in the ECU, fingers crossed. And I'll take you back inside and we'll have a look and see if it's erased all the values. So battery's back on, the AC unit's gone through its cycle, and I've just plugged in and got down to it, and it says it's got 3 readinesses complete and 5 not complete, so I'm guessing we're looking good. Got some live data, no fault codes. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Oh, so plus read fault codes. Awesome, absolutely awesome. So I have that. Long term, voltage, short term, that should give me a bit of a list going, graph them, And long term at 0, long term at 0. So let's see what happens now. Start your engines. Short term at 0, short term at 0, long term at 0, long term at 0. Oxygen sensors all in the centre ground. Bring the revs up so we can get a B2S1, B1S1, the sensors are waking up. Short term, bank 1, minus 20, minus 20. We can get both feet in the car. Oh my good night. Minus 3, minus 3. Well, it weren't saying that before, were it, eh? It was all, or was it? Hang on, hang on, hang on, yes it was minus. Now we're in plus. Plus. I'll have to look back at the data to get my Oscar. I'm just going to stick it into gear and see what happens. So bank 1 S1 is starting to switch. Bank 2 S1. Not really. Not really doing a lot at all. Let's stick it into drive. Put some load on the engine. Oh, beauty. Bank 1 S1 looks to be around about, and Bank 2 S1 looks knackered. So yeah, let's take a picture of that. This is looking knackered to me. Maybe acceptable. No, that one's not looking great either, is it? No, it isn't. Oh dear. We've got a catalogue of crimes here. Serious catalogue of crimes here. My word. Literally. So we're at minus on the fuel trims. Back into park. I don't think we're going to head towards the minus 30 at this, are we? We're back into drive again. So we're in drive. Just going to put some revs on again. There we go, minus 18, minus 21, minus 16, minus 19. Oh yeah, we're going to get some minus figures now, aren't we? So that's like driving up a hill. It's just over-fueling. Seriously over-fueling. Okay, yeah, no, that is seriously over-fueling. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Massive over-fueling. Massive over-fueling. Okay, so we've got a massive over-fueling problem. We've got long-term all the way down to minus 12. Okay. Right. We've got some kind of direction going there now. It is trying to take fuel away for some reason. But idle speed, no, it's plussing. It's putting stuff in. Both banks now. So this is probably why we're getting massive rich and massive lean codes. So under load, it's running really rich, and then obviously overrun and idle, it's running lean. because it's trying to put fuel in. So maybe we've got an air leak and a leaking injector. Well, not on both cylinders. I'll take a close look at the mass airflow sensor. I'll give that a clean and see if we get anywhere with that. So, like all great ideas, you have these things that you go through your head, and obviously, you know, at the point I've decided I'm going to go and clean this MAF sensor. I did that. At the same time I took out all 16 spark plugs and tested all the coils, very similar, a couple out of whack a little bit, and found that there's no piston ring or valve stem oil seal major leaks into the cylinder. And I'm thinking, what else could it be? So this morning I got up bright and early-ish, so being Sunday morning, and got out there. I thought, oh no, I'm going to take the fuel cap off and see if I can get some fresh air coming through the purge solenoid. So, doing that, I got the think tool out and I plugged it in, and I thought, oh no, I'll see if I can hear the purge solenoid clicking. So these are the two things I did. Now when I got the purge solenoid actuation software up and running, it had the cooling fan going for some reason. I don't know why I had the cooling fan going for a purge solenoid test, but I couldn't hear the purge solenoid clicking, so I kept on and off, on and off. Can I hear it? Can I hear it? And then also I could hear it. So I think all those on and offs freed off the purge solenoid. So straight after that I reset the long-term fuel trims through Think Tool. I figured out there's a way of doing it through Think Tool, and this is what I got. So as we can see, long-term fuel trims are slightly lean. You know, it's adding a little bit of fuel. And if we look at the short-term fuel trims, we've got -3, then a -3, and then it goes positive. I mean, you can see the positive figures here. Up here it goes up to +5. At some points it's going up to +9, but it isn't going down to the -12s that it was doing yesterday and even more. It's just flickering around the 0 mark. The crank sensor is giving these faults every now and again, so I'm guessing it's going to need a crank sensor by the looks of it, because every now and again it just decides to go, you know what, I was doing 1200 RPM or I was doing 1000 RPM. It hasn't changed at all. Nothing's happened. It just goes boom, and a little blip comes up every now and again. So looking at that data now, what I'm going to do is, you see at the end here it was up at 4%. It was gone plus. It's just going minus and plus and minus and plus. It's doing what it should do basically. So the next call, and also I'll put in some pictures and video on my mobile phone which I took of. I did fuel pressure test, I did injector leak test, I did individual injector leak off tests, then I did a power balance test by deactivating injectors one by one. Everything looks great. And I was getting, you know, when you get in on something, you get sidetracked, and I was sidetracked thinking this is going to be an injector leak. It looks like an injector leak. 1 and 2 cylinders are looking weird. Number 4 is looking weird. But by the time I'd taken off the coil packs, which I may have some pictures on my phone which I can add in here, I found oil leak into number 4 B circuit, and that was making that one give the false readings which I was getting on the power balance test in between disabling coil packs A and coil packs B. On each of the packs they have twin coil packs, so you've got 8 coil packs and each coil pack has 2 coils, and you can deactivate either A or B to see if you've got individual coils on each cylinder going down. And number 4 had a problem, and then I figured that out. Obviously it got oil into the spark plug lead. So anyway, What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bypass the purge solenoid. I'm just going to put a pipe. I'm going to take the two pipes off the purge solenoid. I'm going to link them together and see if I can recreate this minus 12, minus 20 long-term and short-term fuel trim, and see if I can get it pegged rich. So for my first test, I've just blocked off the pipe going to the inlet manifold and plugged the purge solenoid back in again. Second test, I'm just going to bridge those two together and see if we can make it run really rich. So I've took the purge solenoid off the vehicle, and we've got a vacuum gauge. So if I block it off with my finger, this gauge leaks, by the way, so don't worry about that leaking. FFN I call it. So if you can imagine what the FFN stands for, the last two are from new. They've sent me another one which is slightly better. This one is not very good. So when it's not powered up, it doesn't hold any pressure. So I just want to see if when I put some power to it, so down here I've got 12 volts power supply, I've got the positive linked into it. I'm just going to supply it an earth now. You should hear it click. There, we heard it click. Yep, didn't sound very clicky. Now maybe it'll hold pressure. No, so it doesn't hold pressure anyway, so that's knackered. That requires changing. I should obviously also add here, I do apologise for missing that part of the diagnosis out. It's just when I went to the car, I was extremely hesitant of what I was going to find, so I'm pretty certain I'm going to find something now. So this is what happens when you're trying to concentrate. I'd have been not in the frame of mind for doing a video to be like, what's going on here? But now I've got a clear idea of where I'm going again. We'll get back at it. So the customer of the CLK AMG 55 gave me the go-ahead for all of the repairs on this vehicle to get rid of his misfires, reduce or eliminate his knocking noises. And it had a misfire in cylinder 4, spark plug lead covered in oil, so I've got to sort the oil leak out. Cylinder 5 misfire, coil weak, so I've got to put a coil on. He's got loads of coils in the boot for one of these, so I'll pick the best and stick that on. And running excessively rich, there was this purge solenoid valve here, which is the genuine unit. Can't get them anymore, aftermarket or real, and I've attempted to take it to pieces. It's intermittently working. I'm sure if you lubricated it, it would work perfectly well. The valve, when it seals, it seals. When it doesn't, it sticks open. It's a sticky valve. So I thought to myself, what can I do? What I need is something with a similar connector to that. Otherwise I've got to modify wiring. So I looked around and I thought, Ford Galaxy. It's a purge solenoid valve. It's got smaller ports than the original, but I can't see that making a damn sight of difference. So I ordered it. Well, I looked at them on eBay and Amazon and all over the shop, and I ordered one. Well, this bloke's actually sent me a buy it now offer, half the price. I thought, we'll go ahead and do that, which sometimes works out and other times doesn't. Well, this was a dozen. So I've taken this one to pieces. Whether I can get this one to pieces again, I don't know. Well, look. And what we found was, well, I can be a bit more destructive now because, well, this story carries on. So anyway, he sent me this one, and that's what you get inside it. And by the way, the valve didn't have any rubber stuck to it, like I've stuck to it there, and then just scraped it back off again. So anyway, that's what you got inside it. So you got a solenoid without a pintle. You can see straight through it. I don't know if you can see straight through it there, but you can see straight through it. There's no pintle. And then the valve, well, I think this is just a bearing. There was no valve. The valve should fit inside the bottom there, and it's a weird shape, so even with me gluing rubber to the bottom of that and get it to seal, it didn't. The release spring, so that would literally push the valve away from its sealing surface when you actuated the solenoid. So the pintle was missing, the pintle spring was missing, which holds the valve down, and the sealing valve was missing. I explained to him that when you suck through this tube, it should be off, literally closed, the valve should be closed. When you suck through this one, you can literally suck hard enough to open the valve back up again. And basically with this one you could suck through that one and it would literally, there was no stopping it, obviously with no rubber valve in it, and you could suck through that one and that was just normal. This one here you can suck through one side or suck through the other side, work it a few times and not suck through that side, but you can actually suck the valve open the other way, which is the way it should work. Anyway, long story short, he sent me out 2 more. There's 1 more. And 2 more. Let's get it out. There we go. 2 more. So now I've got 3 of those valves, and guess what? They're all the same. So I can suck through that, and I can suck through that, and no problem. You can suck straight through them. There's no sealing. You try and activate them. There's no clicky clicky noise. I can almost guarantee. Well, I know actually, because I'll flip the cap off on this one. I haven't taken this one to pieces. I flip the cap off on this one, and I can put a piece of metal small enough that it can reach all the way down and touch that metal thing inside there and go tick 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 tick. But even when you hold that down by pressing it really hard, it still doesn't seal anything. So I know full well this one hasn't got any rubber valve in it neither. And this one's actually got a Ford badge on it. Does that one? Oh, it has. It's got a Ford badge on it. Oh, has that one got a Ford badge on it? Yes, they've all got Ford badges on them. Anyway, none of them are going to work, so I was getting a little bit weary, a little bit worried, and I went around all the local motor factories, and I found one this morning, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So I've piped that one onto the vehicle. It is off another Ford, a more modern Ford, and instead of having the tab, which was there, I filed it off for this one to fit on the skew to one side. The tab on the one I've got is in the centre, like this one here, like the Mercedes original. So it actually does clip straight on and seals perfectly. So that's that problem solved. Now I'm going to do the automatic gearbox change, the engine oil change, the micro oil treatment to reduce the knocking and tapping noises and hopefully reduce oil consumption and everything, and plug lead and coil changeover and seal 2 rock cover gaskets. After that I will show you the full status, no, the fuel status, and we'll see if we've got rid of the lean, which I know I've got rid of the lean because the mass airflow sensor is now fitted correctly, and I've got to clean that out as well, so I'll give that a really good cleaning. And the leak, which was this, so we'll have this was causing the rich, the car had rich and lean codes in it, so obviously occasionally this was sticking open and giving you a rich code, and occasionally that was locking off and being beautiful, and at the same time as that being blocked off and being beautiful, it was the mass airflow sensor was giving a slight gap in its sealing surface and letting too much air in and causing lean codes. So it all completely makes sense. Anyway, we'll sort all that out, we'll sort out the contaminated oil and get this guy back rolling again. Right, so it went better than I thought. Cleaned out most of the crap, you can see a little bit of dirt in there, but it's come really clean, really quickly. So that's what she looks like in there. Nice and clean. It's got a couple of more little bits to get out. And the gasket, well, it looks like brand new. Good wash with soap and water, and it does look and feel like brand new. It does look like someone's just done this engine, and to be fair, the bloke was criticising his mechanic quite heavily. And it has got quite a few new parts on it, so I think this has just had some kind of minor engine rebuild maybe, I don't know. but it seems to be similar to what I kind of get, like, you know, the really difficult ones that other people have looked at. That's not a problem. As long as people pay me money for repairing their vehicles, I will repair them to a satisfactory condition. Now, I know the engine breathers could do with being repaired properly, but as long as they seal, that is good enough, so I'm not playing with them. If it needs extra piping, I will do it after the rock cover's on, and just go down and get the pipes and whack them on. But that's the thin smear of silicone. I'm just going to give that another few minutes to dry. I've managed to push some silicone into the threads as I'm going along, just to push a little bit into the threads basically, so the bolts won't rattle loose again. So give that another 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'll whack the rock cover on and torque it down. Okay, before I put it back together, I thought I'd show you this. What I've done is I've cut a piece of rubber. I've put the whole of the original pipe back in there, glued that back together again, and then I've super glued this rubber to the pipe, and then I've stretched it really tight and then super glued it to itself, and then drew the clip over it and squeezed it down in the appropriate position. There may be a little squirty air leak just there, so I'm just going to ram a bit of silicone in there as well. Just a little bit of grey silicone in there. That will I might find some black silicone so you can't see it, but a little bit of silicone in that little air gap there, and that sealed perfectly well. That really did go on nicely. I didn't glue my fingers to it neither, so I just used some super glue, industrial grade. So here we are back at the car, and this is what I've done. So I've blocked off the vacuum gauge pipe. Obviously goes to a vacuum sensor, so the car can work out, the Ford car can work out whether you've got a vacuum leak or not. And the suction side has gone to the inlet manifold, and the tank side has gone to the tank side, and I've made a little adapter pipe. You can see it in there because I cannot see with the glare in here. You might be seeing something close to what I've done there. Should be able to see something. I can't see the screen, so I've made a little adapter pipe to bring the T-piece around and then up to this pipe here. And it sits more or less where the other one would be with the two pipes, and should be perfectly acceptable like it is. Well, I'm literally not doing that again, but if you look at where my finger is, there's like a clip. Yeah, so you undo that clip and this whole unit, this whole clamp unit comes off. It was upside down. So I've turned it round, and now the breather pipe there, it gets held up by a little thing which holds it, and then the whole thing becomes rigid. So to get this off, you just undo that clip there, so that clip there. And after it's off, then you just take this whole clamp assembly off, which takes a couple of seconds, and then you just turn it, and it came off. It just, when I did it, I just pushed it backwards, twisted it, and it came off, kind of thing. But obviously that clip, I thought it was broken, but it's not. It's perfectly okay, and now it's really solid. So that's cured that air leak. Like I say, I believe the air leak was down right down the back there. I'm not sure I'm going to get down there, but where it, yeah, you can just see it down there, just about where it clips onto the throttle body. So false alert, but I think it was drawing in unwanted air there. So now we'll go through all that again, and hopefully it isn't lean now. So this is the number 4 coil, denoted by number 4, and this was the plug lead off of it. I don't know if we can get a good clear picture of that in the open here. I've cleaned it out, but I mean it was completely drenched in oil, and I'm not taking the metal shields off to do it, and it just keeps on dripping oil. You can see oil on my finger, it's just coming out. It's going to create a misfire again. So we had some second-hand leads on second-hand coils in the boot, so I just stuck my hose on. I tested the kV on it, and it's perfectly okay. 2.2 kV, they're all the same. Not kV, kilo ohms. They're all the same. Short lead, 2 kilo ohms. That seems perfectly okay to me. If it's got a misfire, I'll find out when I rebuild it and do the tests. But I am pretty confident that lead will be okay. The number 5 coil was weak as well, so I'm going to have to replace the number 5 coil and do the other side. So I've completed the AMG 55, siliconed it up, silicon's all good, no leak, coil changed, spark plug lead changed, fuel trims are great. I've just been out for a 5-mile road testing it, and the long terms at 0 and the short terms are fluctuating between minus and plus. Single figures, 6s and 4s and 2s. Anyway, now I've got to check the gearbox oil level, because obviously I took all the oil out and I've just tipped 5 litres into it because 5 litres came out, and this is how I check the gearbox oil. So now I've got false alert. This isn't in properly, so I think there was an air gap down the bottom of the inlet track from the mass airflow into the throttle body. I think there was a gap down there, so I'm just going to repair that and recheck it. Well, that's a funny turn up for the books. I'm not sure whether the car has primed itself again, but the pressure has gone up. So maybe it's not leaking. That's extremely strange. The keys are in my pocket, I believe. Yeah, the keys are in my pocket. And you can hear the engine running behind me. I am looking at that at the moment, and just leaving this on for diagnostic purposes for 10 minutes just to see what's happening with it. I was fully expecting to come across here now and see that down below 50 psi, but it's gone up. It's coming back down again now though. It's a bit all over the shop, isn't it? So whatever test I'm going to do, I'm going to have to do it in a prescribed manner at exactly the right time, because this is an inconsistent fuel pressure. So we're doing a injector pulse test. Got it set on 2. The last one was 52 to 44, and that's leaking more, so that's 52 to 43. So it's coming down to the 52 again, nearly there. Just wait for it to get to the 52. Yeah, that's 44. Okay.